Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And I am excited for today's guest because he and I have a lot in common in the way that we think about food and a lot how confusing it can be and how diets just don't work. So I'm excited to talk to him. But before we get to our guest, I have to tell you guys, I'm going to be on the TV show, The World's Greatest Motivators, this Sunday live at 4 p.m. And if you're not watching that show, you need to. Some of the absolute biggest names in personal development and personal growth are on that show. I'm talking Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, David Meltzer, Jack Canfield, Michael Bernard Beckwith, you name it. And yours truly is going to be on that show. So I am beyond excited. It is a dream come true. But enough about me. Let's get excited. Let's bring on our guest, David Medansky. Welcome. I am so happy you're here today.
Oh, thank you, Julianne, for having me as a guest today. I appreciate it.
You know, as I was saying to everybody before you came on, and even to you before we started, I just love everything about what you're teaching and how you show up in the world. So I would love for you to share a bit about yourself and your own wellness journey.
Would love to. My health journey started in July of 2016 when my doctor told me, based on my lab results and being significantly overweight, I had a 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. And he gave me two options: lose weight or find a new doctor. In fact, he suggested I find a new doctor because he'd been after me for the previous 8 years to shed some pounds. And I procrastinated, put it off, and I wasn't doing anything. And then light bulb went off. So during the next 4 months, I shed 50 pounds, 25% of my total body weight. And more importantly, I've kept it off for more than 5 years. And I wasn't always fat. Most of my life I was fit and trim, but for most of us, life gets in the way with family obligations, work, and before you know it, the weight crept up on me. And so I want to help other people learn to eat healthier, shed weight, have more energy, feel better, look better, have more mental clarity, and improve their overall health.
You know, I find this interesting because you said it took 8 years for you to finally do something about it. And unfortunately, that is so normal. You are by far part of the norm. Most people don't. Even when you're told, okay, you know what, there's a really good chance you're going to die, people don't actually change their diet. Was there something that really finally clicked for you? Or was it just like, okay, I got to do this?
It was the 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. I have a lot of things I want to accomplish in my life. One of them, I'll be doing this June. I'll be hiking Mount Kilimanjaro.
No way. I've always wanted to do that. I'm so excited for you.
So I'm excited about that. And like I said, most of my life I was fit and trim and didn't realize how heavy I had gotten, how sluggish I felt. And so I had friends that weren't so fortunate that did suffer heart attacks, do need the hip and knee replacements and have other ailments, type 2 diabetes and other things that are preventable and reversible. So I want to help other people. I was telling my wife that I came full circle because when I got out of college, I wanted to open a health food store and fitness center, and then got into law for various reasons and practice divorce law. And now here I am, in my, mid 60s, teaching people how to be fit and healthy with changing their eating habits.
I love that because it really matters what we put into our body. And, the fact that you're able to do it, and I just hear so many excuses all the time. Oh, I'm too old, or I'm too this, I'm too that. And I'm just like, you only have this one body.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Bob Martin. And he says, if you wear out your body, where else are you going to live?
Exactly. I love that quote. It's so true. We don't think about it. It's like the Superman complex. We just think we're invincible, even though we know intuitively that that's not the case. And plus, we all know that nobody gets out of here alive. But I love the idea too that you mentioned that you didn't notice, because a lot of people don't notice. It doesn't happen overnight that all of a sudden you're overweight. You know, it takes time. I mean, unless you turn into like a serious binge eater or something like that. But you know, if it were that simple, you know, from like night and day, you would have seen it sooner. But because it's gradual, it's like, wait a second, what? You don't notice how tired you are. You don't notice all those things, like the mental clarity is no longer there. Um, what were some of the first things that you experienced in changes when you started to lose some of the weight?
Well, I just want to tell people up front, I lost weight on HCG, which is a hormone from pregnant women,
Mm-hmm.
and it tricks the body into burning fat instead of muscle. And you're on 550 calories a day for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Now, if you just went on 550 calories a day without the HCG, your body would burn muscle instead of fat, and it'd be detrimental to you. The FDA no longer approves HCG for weight loss. And so the main thing is I know a lot of 6 people personally who went on it. All of them failed to change their diets after they lost the weight. They reverted back to old habits, and every one of them gained it all back, some even more. And when I spoke to my doctor about it, I said 90% of people who do this HCG regain weight. And he goes, yeah, he says, I have repeat business. And I'm like, wow, what if we work together to help people? And he gave me various reasons why he wasn't able to do that. And I thought, okay, that's kind of a shame. And so I want people to understand that's how I lost weight so quickly. However, I've helped clients who implement what I teach them. There's 9 principles, and all of them have had weight loss success, more some than others. One friend from high school actually reached out to me. Her goal is to lose 35 pounds. She actually lost 45 pounds, and she did it in about 6 months. And usually what I ask people is, would you like to weigh 24 to 48 pounds lighter by this time next year? And most people say, oh, well, of course. Well, think of it this way. If you can lose 2, 3, 4 pounds a month, not a week, a month, and you do that on average consecutive for 12 consecutive months, within a year, you're going to be 24 to 48 pounds lighter. The problem today is most people want instant gratification. They want the magic pill, the magic supplement, the meals, replacements. They're not willing to give it time and let the body adjust. And also the national brands are promoting lose 16 to 30 pounds guaranteed the first month. Well, yeah, you can lose the weight. However, it's not sustainable or maintainable, nor is it healthy. So you have to be careful.
I'm glad that you mentioned that's how you lost weight, but I also want to mention that you kept it off. So, you did change your eating habits. You approach life differently. You approach food differently.
Oh yeah, food is fuel for the body. People don't look at it.
Exactly.
Most of them use it for comfort, for stress release, entertainment, socializing. We don't look at food as survival. And so nowadays people are surviving, they're not thriving. And when you start thriving, you can see a difference. And I want people to experience having more energy and feeling better, improving their overall health.
And I find that admirable. And, there's something that you were talking about that we really need to talk about. And that is, these weight loss promises and these weight loss gimmicks and things that are out there. And like you said, you can lose weight, but is it sustainable? Will you gain it back and gain back more even? So what are some things that you've discovered that are out there that tend to be misleading?
Oh, one of them is that you need to exercise to lose weight. And I would argue 95% of your weight issues are what you're put into your mouth. You may have some hormonal issues or thyroid issues that could cause weight, problems. However, for the most part, exercise to lose weight is a myth. The biggest example is The Biggest Loser. 66% of the contestants that lost weight on The Biggest Loser have all regained it. Most of them gained some of it back. The problem is they're promoting the gyms, especially New Year's resolutions. Start exercising. Exercise is very important for overall health and fitness, not for weight loss. And I'll explain that. I had a client that was doing everything he was supposed to for the first 3 weeks, and the scale wasn't moving. And I
Mm-hmm.
finally asked him, I said, his name is David also. I said, Dave, are you doing more physical activity? He goes, I'm riding my bicycle and I'm walking 5 miles a day. I said, well, how are your clothes feeling? He says, my clothes are loose and people are actually asking me if I'm losing weight. However, the scale says I'm not. I
Mm-hmm.
said, don't go by the scale, go by your waistline, because muscle and fat weigh the same. 5 pounds of muscle is the
Mm-hmm.
same as 5 pounds of fat. However, muscle is much more denser than fat, which means it takes up less room.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're exercising, you won't see any changes in the scale, but you may see you're having more energy, more tone in your muscles, your clothes are feeling looser. And
Mm-hmm.
then after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, people give up because the scale is lying to them. And that's what's important. And so that's one of the fallacies. Now, I don't want people to think exercise is not important. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, overall fitness and um, overall health. The other thing is, doing simple things like walking for a half hour, 45 minutes a day can
Mm-hmm.
make a substantial difference in your weight issues. Number one, you'll curb your appetite and it'll
Mm-hmm.
give you a little bit more energy. And the best example I can use of that is Rebel Wilson lost 77 pounds in a year. And what she said she did was walk an hour a day. She really didn't change her diet much. So if people would just start gradually, you don't have to start
Mm-hmm.
walking an hour. They would, maybe 10, 15 minutes, build up to half an hour and do everything gradual. People diets tend to be extreme.
Mm-hmm.
They're also temporary, um, and they're hard to stick with. And some of them are potentially dangerous to your health.
No, I think that that's a really good point. And I just want to say, too, I'm a personal trainer, and my thing is don't come to me for weight loss. I will help you with your health, but like you said, diet is the major component if that's what you want to do is lose weight. But like you mentioned before, too, for overall health, exercise is important, but it's not the end all be all. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because even scientifically, think about how many calories you burn walking versus eating, something. It would be virtually impossible. You would you
Yeah.
have to be exercising all the time and eat like a rabbit.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's not sustainable. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that that's really important that people understand that it does, diet's number one if that's what your goal is.
Exactly. The word diet has a negative connotation. So I like
It
to
does.
look at it as food consumption or eating habits.
Yes, that is true. It does. And words have power. So, I,
Oh, mindset's very important.
yeah, it is.
80% of our thoughts are negative.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we reversed it and changed our mindset so 80% of our thoughts are positive. How much better it would be. And that's what I teach people also is how to change their mindset, how they look at things. So you're not sacrificing, you're not foregoing,
Mm-hmm.
you are making a healthy choice.
Something else too that I always love to tell clients is you're finding your new favorites. You're not giving up anything. You're just finding new favorites while you're
Well,
trying new food.
well, the other thing is, as Oprah says, what you focus on expands.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of focusing and dwelling on the things you're not able to have or unhealthy for you, focus on the things you like that are healthy for you. Focus on drinking more water, eating an apple, an avocado, making whole foods, avoiding the processed foods and manufactured
Mm-hmm.
foods and the, fast foods, the drive through. Dr. David Friedman had a great quote in his book, Food Sanity. He said, whoever snuck the S in fast foods was a marketing genius.
I like that. I've never heard that one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's great. So you had your own weight loss journey.
Yes, I definitely did. Mine was because I wanted to become a cop of all things. That didn't happen, and I'm actually thankful. But yeah, I definitely had my own weight loss journey, and for me, it was learning how to listen to my body and certain things that were technically the right way to do it, eating X amount of protein, did not work for me. So, I call it protein angry. I got protein angry. my poor body could not process all of that protein. And so I was angry all the time. So I had to really, pay attention. Yeah, it was definitely interesting learning how to hear what I need. Because wouldn't you agree that people are bio individuals? So while there are certain rules that apply, you kind of have to figure out what works for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I've identified what I call 9 must-have principles for healthy eating, which also is for healthy weight loss that's
Uh-huh.
maintainable. The way I look at a diet is it's a sprint, and there's a goal and a finish line.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're on a diet, you say, I want to lose so many pounds. And when you reach that goal, you've crossed the finish line. And most people revert back to their old eating habits. That's
Mm-hmm.
why 90% of people who lose weight on a diet will regain it all, some even more within a year. However, if you look at lifestyle and eating habits as running a marathon, you
Mm-hmm.
just keep going and going. There's no finish line in this marathon because it's your life journey.
I think that's really important. I always felt like that was spirituality. I kept waiting for enlightenment.
Well, what was your wake up call for your weight loss journey?
It was the scale. Like I told you, I was always small, but I was what they call tofu, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So I was 30% body fat. And that scared me because my mom died when she was 43 and my brother died when he just turned 45.
Wow.
So, and not to mention all my other relatives, but those are the two closest ones that were in their 40s. And a lot of it had to do with their diet. So I just thought, okay, I am not going to end up like
Yeah.
them. So that
Yeah.
for me was the major wake up call. Like you said, the fact that you had a 95% chance of having a fatal heart attack, it can wake a person up. For me, I'd always been small my whole life and thin and felt good in my skin, and I just didn't anymore. And I know a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was always smaller, but I felt really huge. I felt like I was huge. And for me, it turned out I was just holding it in a little closer.
Yeah. Well, what do you think is the number one habit people should do for healthy eating?
uh the number one habit. Oh goodness. I would say for healthy eating is to crowd out the things that, like, I don't ever believe in getting rid of anything necessarily. But if I wanted to say have a donut, for example, then I'm going to eat all my vegetables and everything first. 99.999% of the time, I'm not going to want that donut afterwards because I'm so full. So that for me works really well. But I would say, though, that the number one thing that anybody and everybody seems to lack is not enough water. Most
Bingo.
people don't drink enough water.
Yeah. And there's a direct correlation. 75% of the US population is chronically dehydrated.
I believe, wow.
72% of the US adult population is overweight, of which 41% are clinically obese. And so what happens is people sometimes think they're hungry when they're
Mm-hmm.
actually thirsty. Our bodies are 60 to 70% water,
Yeah.
not soda, not diet soda, fruit juices, or fruit flavor, beverages,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly not alcohol. Now, I do have a glass of wine every now and then, and I'm like you. If I want a slice of pecan pie or chocolate cake, I'll have it. However,
Mm-hmm.
instead of eating a full piece, I'll have a sliver. And so I reduce my portion sizes. So yeah, I would agree with you that water is the number one principle that I teach people because that's one of the easiest things people can change.
It
I
is.
get into argument with people when they say they don't want to give up their diet soda, and they don't realize diet soda will cause weight gain. They're saying, how does 0 calories cause weight gain? Because calories are not a unit of measurement. It's a thing. It's an entity. Not only
Mm-hmm.
that, diet sodas have aspartame for sweetness. That's the artificial sweetener.
Yeah.
Aspartame has 92 known side effects. One of them is it inhibits your body from absorbing vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. So your body's going into starvation mode and it goes into survival mode. And so it fights like heck to retain weight. The other thing is aspartame increases your craving for sweetness. So while you may be enjoying the diet soda, you're also going to start craving artificial, refined sugars, the candy bars, the cakes, the pastries, the donuts, everything else that we're not supposed to eat. And then fresh fruits and vegetables will taste bitter or sour.
Exactly. Your taste buds change. Absolutely. Yeah. Would you say too that maybe if it's blocking those minerals, it's almost like, because I live in California, so it's almost like drought. Great. All of a sudden it rains, but because the ground's so dry, it doesn't get in. It just sloughs off. It's kind of like the same thing with food. Your body can't absorb all those good things because of something that you chose to drink. That's
exactly.
A scary thought.
Yeah, it blocks it basically. Yeah.
That is scary. And then like vitamins too, when you can tell if your body's absorbing them by the color of your pee.
Yeah. Exactly. Some people have expensive urine.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So there's something that I want to talk about when we come back from commercial. And well, first of all, I want to mention before we go to commercial, because we're going to talk about this too, but you have a book.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your book now, and then we're going to talk about it when we come back as well. So,
okay. This is my current book called Break the Chains of Dieting.
Love it.
And it has the 9 must-have fundamental principles for healthy and sustainable weight loss. And the best part is it has a lot of short stories, and it's not so much of people's successes. It's short stories with life lessons. Some people have heard of them. I'll go through a few of them afterwards. And then I applied the life lessons from the short stories to eating healthier.
I love that. And so people, they can get that on your website. And then also, I'm assuming Amazon?
Yes, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's also available in an audiobook.
Oh, nice.
So there's different distributions for that. So yes.
No, I love that idea too, because sometimes I have so many friends that don't want to sit down and read, but they'll listen to a book, no problem.
Yeah, the narrator did a great job.
I love that. And I like the idea too of little stories of life lessons, because those tend to stick, at least for me. Those are the things that stick in my memory, not the facts necessarily, but how they might apply to me. I like that.
I wanted to make it entertaining because I read a lot of books on weight loss and health and diet. In fact, I went back to my books from the 1970s written by Paul and Patricia Bragg, Richard Simmons, Jack LaLanne, William Duffy wrote Sugar Blues. And then I started reading current books, and I started realizing that the current books were more marketing vehicles. They were promoting their services, their products, and it made it seem like if you didn't purchase their special product or do their special plan, you would fail. This book doesn't do that. In fact, I give you not only what to do, but how to do it.
Ooh, I love that. All right. So on that note, we are going to go to commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to dive into that a little bit more. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. We'll see you in just a moment. All right, everyone. As I mentioned, it is commercial time. So before we go, I want to say hello to everybody who is watching us live. And I'm just going to say we'll be right back after these messages.
Are you someone who is struggling to move forward because you suffered a loss? Maybe you're even finding it difficult to complete the most basic tasks. Are you looking for a way to start enjoying life again without feeling guilty or the resistance to do so? Spiritual life coach Sarah Stockham saw a need for people who haven't learned how to grieve without putting their entire lives on pause. And so she created a program that solves this issue called Choosing Life Right Now. This program is simple and you can do it on your own. If you are ready to learn how to feel your grief while still being able to smile, to honor the sacredness of what took place as a loss, and yet still continue to live with joy, and if you'd like to take care of your whole being with grace and love, then I'd like to invite you to experience her new program called Choosing Life Right Now. Sarah is currently offering her program for the promotional price of $77, but it won't stay at this price for long. To learn more, check out her website. The address is on the screen.
Now, you can vibrationally align your aura. You can gain a larger and spiritual perspective on life, relationships, God, people, wellness, and money. You can also have moments of meditation and reflection any time of the day. And reading the thrilling, adventurous, and mystical story of Shaga will just add more faith to your daily experience of the mystery of the universe.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And today's special guest is David Medansky. Let's bring him back. Hello,
Hi.
welcome back.
Thank you.
So before we went to commercial break, we briefly touched on your book, and I want to discuss it further. So tell us a little bit more. You said there was 9 principles. Is that correct?
Correct. The first one, drink more water.
Yes.
The second one is avoid processed and manufactured foods.
Mm.
What that means is manufactured isn't made by nature. It's made by a person with a white lab coat in a lab somewhere. And there's a commercial from the 1970s with Chiffon Margarine where Dina Dietrich was playing Mother Nature. And her line was, "It's not nice to fool Mother Nature." And so perhaps we should heed that warning. So the third principle is to eat more whole foods or holistic and real foods, things without labels, like an apple, a pear, a piece of fish or chicken or beef, whatever you prefer. The fourth principle is to eat slower because we tend to eat very fast because we're all in a hurry. And the fifth thing is to eat smaller portions. What a lot of people don't realize is our food portions have been supersized.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1900s, the average size dinner plate was 9 inches in diameter. Today, it's 12 inches. That's a 25% increase. The other thing is, at a restaurant, the serving platters are 13 to 15 inches. Still in Europe, it's 9 inches in diameter for a dinner plate. So one of the things you can do is use a salad plate instead. And the other thing is, colors are important. Blue is an appetite suppressant.
Oh.
Red and yellow are appetite stimulants. That's why McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Denny's, and all the other fast food places all have red, yellow, or a combination thereof in their marketing. And as a former lawyer, I did divorce work, so I divorced my own weight. That's what I tell people. I've learned to, read the fine print, and I also learned to distinguish between honest people and dishonest people. And unfortunately, in the food industry and in the weight loss industry, there are many more dishonest people than honest people.
That is such there's so much truth to it. Like, how do you know what to trust and who to trust? What are some ways that, like, a layperson who doesn't have your knowledge yet, how can they figure out, okay, maybe I shouldn't eat this? Or, I mean, for me, if there's some sort of health claim, then I'm always leery because there's no health claims with an apple,
Well, and an apple is one of the healthiest foods you can eat. Avocados, it has the healthy fat. People get confused with carbohydrates, and there's difference between a simple carbohydrate and a complex carbohydrate. And complex carbohydrates are actually very necessary and important for healthy, your health, overall health. So people have to be careful. A lot of people are promoting things. If it's fat free, that's not healthy because it contains a lot of sugar. And that sugar is converted in your body to fat. So what people don't realize is the food industry and weight loss industry are paying millions and millions of dollars to psychologists and marketing experts to help promote and advertise their products. One example I can give, can of tuna. On the front of the can, it'll say packed in water. And you're thinking, oh, okay, this is good. However, if you turn it over and look at the ingredients, most likely it's going to say tuna, water, vegetable broth, and sea salt. Well, what's in the vegetable broth? They can have up to 168 different compounds or chemicals without disclosing what's in the vegetable broth. So you don't know what you're putting in your body. So you have to be careful. So I found at Costco, they sell the Carolyn brand, the Chicken of the Sea brand, and also Wild Planet. Those tunas will say water, tuna, water, and sea salt. So there's a big difference. So you need to look at the fine print on reading labels. People look at the wrong things on labels. They look at the serving size, the calories, the protein, the sugars, the sodium. Very few people read that fine print with the ingredients. So it's real simple. If you're not able to pronounce the word, don't put it in your body.
I like the idea. If your grandma wouldn't recognize it, then you shouldn't eat it.
Exactly. No, I'm not saying you have to avoid everything. I'm not a food purist by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's a treat for me. When I was growing up, going to McDonald's once a week, once every 2 weeks was a treat. Nowadays, people can go to McDonald's 3 times a day and get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and none of it is healthy.
Exactly.
And that's one of the problems. The other thing is people do it for convenience. I used to think that the number one reason people gain weight was stress. And I heard a medical doctor say, no, it's convenience, because it's more convenient to go through the fast food drive-through. It's more convenient to pick up a pizza or a bucket of chicken or get a frozen meal and pop it in the microwave. So people are getting less active. In fact, it used to be you would go to the grocery store and you pushed your cart. Then they had motorized vehicles for people to drive their little carts around. And now you don't even have to go to the grocery store. You just, call, place the order, and they deliver it to your home. So we're less physically active. And the other thing on nutrition fact labels and reading the labels, it's based on 2,000 calories per day. The average American consumes 3,600 calories per day.
Wow.
So that's almost double. The other thing is, to lose weight, you need to reduce your caloric intake by 500 calories per day for a full week. And one of the biggest things that people overlook is sleep. Yes. And what research shows, if you're sleep deprived, most likely you'll consume an extra 500 calories the next day. So people are going the wrong direction. So that's one of the other principles, is sleep, and also having a positive mindset and how you view things makes a big impact.
It does. And I'm so glad that you brought up sleep, because I am so tired of hearing that phrase, I'll sleep when I die. I'm like, okay, then you're going to die sooner.
Yeah.
Your body needs rest. You need to, you need this. And like you said, it's so much harder to make good choices when you're tired.
Well, exactly. And you just start whatever's going to give you more energy. The energy drinks out there are poison in my
They
opinion.
really are.
Sodas, in my opinion, are poison. And people don't realize that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's safe. They've done research and shows that an Oreo cookie is more addicting than cocaine. And
wow.
people also don't understand our food is scientifically engineered to optimize our cravings for fat, salt, sugar, and texture. It's called the bliss point. It's a term coined by Howard Moskowitz, who was in the food industry for 30 years, and he was responsible for creating the different Prego spaghetti sauces, the Campbell food soups, a lot of the different varieties of Dr. Pepper. In the 1990s, the average grocery store had about 15,000, that's 15,000 products on their shelf. Today, it's over 50,000, 50. Now, I don't know about you, Julianne. I have not heard of that many new fruits, vegetables, nuts, or berries being discovered in that time period.
Yeah, me either. Oh my goodness, that is absolutely scary. And then that's like that choice, decision fatigue, what do I choose?
Yeah, and the other thing is when they say bet you can't eat just one potato chip, that's not a dare. That's a fact.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. That's so scary. I mean, people don't really realize it's about making money. It's not about what's best for us.
Right.
So.
Again, misleading information. Another thing, and we were talking before, a box of spaghetti, on the front of it will say 0 sodium, so much protein, 0 sugar, and other things. What it doesn't say is how many carbohydrates. And the average serving of spaghetti will have 42 grams of simple carbohydrates, which is different than a complex carbohydrate, which is way too much, for simple carbohydrates. So they fail to put that on the front of the label, because now you pick up the spaghetti and say, oh, there's this much protein, no sodium, 0 fat. This is great. It's healthy. It's not.
Exactly. Anything that has all of that there's something hidden there. Be leery.
Exactly. Turn it over, read the back,
read
see what's
it.
the ingredients, see what the carbohydrates, to see if it's a simple carbohydrate or a complex carbohydrate.
Something that I keep on thinking about was the broth thing. There's another one that they say on labels that a lot of people don't realize, and that's natural flavors. Just because this is natural, arsenic's natural too, but that doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah, and they can have so much artificial and still call it natural. So
exactly,
when it says natural, it's different than organic, or just when it says natural, just be careful. That's again, it's a processed food, or it's a manufactured food.
Yeah.
So
sugar is definitely my nemesis, or it has been. I've sort of become friends. And I like to call things like fruit, for example, that to me is regular sugar. But anything else like the cakes and the cookies and the donuts, that's recreational sugar, like recreational drugs.
Yeah. Well, sugar is addicting. It is a drug.
It is. Oh my goodness. That to me, woo. So, and it's so inflammatory to the body. There's just so much about it that's completely negative that people don't realize is just killing us.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to get over that hump so that you're not going to it. Do you have any tips for people that are trying to quit the sugar?
Yeah, instead of going cold turkey or cutting way back completely, do it gradually. If you're drinking 1 or 2 cans of soda, drink a can or half a can, pour more ice. If you drink water, do it at room temperature. If you don't like plain water, some people complain about that. Throw in some lemon or lime or watermelon or berries. If you go to a resort, usually in the tropical areas, they have water up front with fresh fruits and berries in it. Well, why not treat yourself every day to add flavor and the nutrients from absorbing? The water absorbs it and you drink it. So little things like that. Don't get the artificial flavored waters at the store. That's not healthy for you.
Well, like you said, artificial. It's hard to remember those sometimes. And
And
I
don't
like
beat
the idea
yourself
that,
up. Yeah.
yeah, I like the idea though that, making these changes gradually, because sometimes when you go, I don't know, but in the United States, especially, we have this all or nothing mentality. And it's like from one end of the spectrum to the other in 2 seconds flat. I mean, you see it in just about everything.
Yeah, exactly. And, I tell people is you didn't put your weight on overnight. You're not going
Yeah.
to lose it overnight. And it's how do you eat an elephant? One
Yeah,
bite at a time. Well, how are you going to lose your weight? 1 ounce and 1 pound at a time. Just be
exactly.
consistent and do it consistently and give it enough time. And when I tell people give it enough time, I'm talking at least 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
Research has shown it takes 66 days on average to create a new habit. Not 21 days, not 30 days.
Mhm.
66 days, and that's an average. So some may take a little longer, some a little shorter. And so that's what I teach people is look, do it gradually. It's your life.
Mhm.
Unless there's something really severe, you need to see a health professional for that. But if it's something you can do gradually, you'll start seeing big changes if you give it time and are consistent on it.
Yes, and that's the key word, consistent.
Yeah. And I just want to get back to the mental attitude. I had a client who's my age, and she was complaining she's too old to do things. And you were mentioning that.
Yeah.
I'll be 67 in April. And I was, telling her all this stuff, hiking Kilimanjaro,
Mhm.
going here, walking, hiking, doing other things. And she was talking to me and she says, wow. She goes, I'm preparing to die and you're preparing to live. She goes, I need to change my attitude. I said, yes, you do. And she did. And
I
now
love
she's
that.
thriving. Again, she's not surviving, she's thriving.
Mhm.
And she just thanked me. She goes, wow, I feel young again. So again, you can change your attitude. You can reverse type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
People don't
No,
realize that.
that's the thing. It's like if you don't do the energy work and the mental energy work before anything else, it doesn't matter because it won't last.
Exactly. And some people say, well, I'm interested in losing weight and getting
Mhm.
healthier. Well, there's a difference between being interested in it and being committed to it.
John
And
Assarath. One of
exactly.
my
And
favorite things.
when I, made my decision, I committed to reducing weight, and
Yeah.
the doctor didn't think I was going to do it. His office manager didn't believe I was going to do it. She didn't think I was going to show up the next week when I did. And then she didn't think I was going to do it. And I turned out to be their poster child and had the most success and did everything exactly as I was supposed to.
I love that. And I want to mention too about your client, the one that said she was preparing to die and you were preparing to live. A lot of people, and it goes right back to that attitude, that mindset. A lot of people would say, you're telling her, for example, what you're about to do, and she say, oh, but you're a man. Are you looking for another excuse?
Well, I come back easy with that because my wife is a little bit older than I am and looks a lot younger than I am and runs circles around me. So she'll lose that argument every time.
I
If
know.
you're a female,
I
that
like
won't
the
work.
idea of, you can find an excuse or you can find a way. And it's all about, like you said, if you're interested or are you committed?
Yeah. T. Harv Eckert used to say, reasons or results.
Yes. Oh, I love him.
Excuses or results. Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing about the book, for the price of less than a pizza, it gives you everything you know. And instead of me charging $400 an hour to consult someone, I actually laid out everything they need to do. And like I said, not only how to do it, not what to do, but how to do it. I even have a chapter having an accountability partner and how to hold an accountability call, how it should, the dialogue should go and what's expected and how to find an accountability partner. So it's all there. And again, for less than the cost of a pizza, you can get the book. And if you get the Kindle version, it's less than the cost of a Starbucks coffee.
That's awesome. Something too, you're talking about an accountability partner, something that you mentioned that I think is really important that people recognize is that, what I'm hearing you say is, for example, I'm going to use the accountability partner. That's all fine and dandy. We've all heard that terminology, but how do you go about actually?
Right.
And so you actually show and teach, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is what it looks like, instead of getting on the phone and just gabbing and co-signing each other's stories and not really actually holding each other accountable.
Well, you don't need the other person to be on a weight loss journey.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it. And I give credit to Darren Hardy because I borrowed his formula for doing accountability calls.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Why reinvent the wheel if it works?
Yeah. You see, I give credit to a lot of people throughout the book who, again, why reinvent the wheel? And as an attorney, I don't have to know everything. I just need to know where to look and do the
That
research.
is,
So
that is so important. And I like that idea because, you've taken all of this time and figured out from all these different sources and learned, and now you're putting it together so nobody else has to go to all these different sources and figure it all out on their own too. Plus with stories.
Yeah, one of the stories is the pot roast story. You probably heard of this one, maybe not.
Oh, I think I have. I love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share.
Host is having dinner party, and one of the guests loves the pot roast, and she asked the host for the recipe, and the host says, sure. She writes it down. The guest looks it over and says, why do you cut the ends of the pot roast off? And she says, I don't know. That's how my mom taught me. So she called her mom the next day, and she asked her mom, why do we cut the ends of the pot roast off before we cook it? She says, I don't know. That's how your grandmother taught me. So she calls her grandmother and says, Grandma, how come you cut the ends of the pot roast off before you cook it? And she thought for a minute. She says, oh, because when I was first married, the pot I had was too small, so I had to cut the ends off to make it fit. So the lesson is sometimes we're eating certain things or a certain way because that's how we were taught by our parents. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine, John Canada, he calls it dietary duplication. Oh, so in the book, I put down questions for people to start examining why they eat certain things, when they eat certain things, how they eat certain things, to evaluate, maybe see if they can make some changes and adjustments to it.
And you could take it even a step further and think about your mindset. What are some thoughts and ways that you believe things just because that's how it's always been for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that really your thoughts, or is that just something that you were taught?
Or picked up from a friend or a colleague?
Yeah, exactly.
You just never know where you pick up something.
Yeah.
It's the other thing is there's two frog stories, and one of them is two frogs are hopping through the woods and they fall into a pit. And the other frogs come along, they start yelling to the frogs, it's impossible to get out. And they're jumping as high as they can. And finally, the one frog listens to the other frogs and gives up and accepts his fate. And the other frog keeps jumping and jumping. Finally, the other frogs are screaming so loud, why? You can't make it. It's impossible. He finally gets out. And when he gets out, the other frog says, how did you do that? Couldn't you hear us screaming? It's impossible. And he says, no, I'm deaf. I thought you were cheering me on. So the lesson is don't always listen to other people. Mm-hmm. And that's what I teach people, how to, lose the weight, keep it off in a healthy manner when they don't believe they can.
Yes.
I teach them how to believe in themselves.
And that's also where the mindset thing comes in, because a lot of us self-sabotage.
Yeah.
That's an important thing too.
We procrastinate. I'll start my new eating habits tomorrow on Monday, after the holidays, after my party, after vacation. I give top 10 reasons in the book. That's a few of them. Yeah. People have their own excuses. And again, when you commit, you won't have those excuses. You'll start making small adjustments. And the key word is small adjustments. So,
yeah, there's, I think his name's Craig Ballantyne with a B, and he wrote a book. I can't remember the name of it right now, but anyway, it's basically how to start your morning. And the point is that, if you make rules for your life, like I am someone who eats like this, then there's no question about it anymore. Like for example, I am a non-smoker. Yeah. So I think like a non-smoker as opposed to somebody who's trying to quit smoking,
Yeah, exactly. And there's a chapter in the book called Cheeseburger, Wedding Cake, or Cheeseburger, Wine and Wedding Cake, and what they have in common. And it goes into that mental attitude that you're talking about. So I don't want to give everything away, but it's interesting when people start thinking about it. I'll give a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. You're at your friend's barbecue and he's making special hamburgers with the imported cheese and freshly baked buns and, special, grass-fed beef. And he has all the condiments you love. And he says, would you like to have, a burger? Well, most people say, yeah, that sounds great. Well, in this case, you say no, because you're a vegetarian. You don't eat meat.
Exactly.
It's not that you won't, it's you don't. And that's one of the differences, that you set rules. And I talk about Blair Singer and the code of honor, because Blair Singer talks about code of honor for companies. And I took that and applied it to having a food code of honor with yourself, some rules that you can follow. So there's little things in there that aren't found in other so-called weight loss books or diet books or fitness books. And that's what makes it special.
Well, also, it seems more like it's a lifestyle as opposed to, a diet.
Well, it is. And I don't really go into, I tell you what you should avoid. I don't go much into what you should eat. I give, suggestions. Everybody's different. Some people like eggs, some don't. Some like to eat meat, some don't. Some like fish, some don't. Some like chicken, some don't. Some like dairy, some don't. So it gives you flexibility with what your likes are and your dislikes. If you don't like something, don't eat it. It's real simple. If you like something that's healthy for you, great. If, berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, I love that. So you can eat as much of that as you want, as long as it's, frozen, organic, or, you get it at the grocery store fresh, not, some of this other stuff they sell that's packaged and everything. So be careful. But, there's a lot of things you can do. And so, again, focus on what you like and you enjoy. And that way you're not thinking about the bad stuff that you shouldn't have. And,
Exactly. And, I'll tell something really quick, but when I first started deciding to eat healthy, and this was years ago, and I did lose my way for a while, but I'm telling you, I learned about blueberries, for example, and how they had to be organic because those are brain berries. And I'm telling you, at that time, I didn't have a lot of money. And so I couldn't necessarily afford blueberries that were organic, because it was out of season or something like that. So what did I do? I chose like a Twix bar or something like that instead. What was I thinking? Why not? Even a non-organic blueberry is still better than a Twix bar.
Exactly. Choices. And that's what it comes down to. Choices.
Yeah. So going back to that whole, black and white thinking, there's levels, and, you got to go where you are, and financially, mentally, all of that. But start somewhere.
Yeah. Avoid orange juice. People think orange juice is healthy. It's not, because it takes 4 to 8 medium oranges to make a glass of orange juice, and it strips it of all the fiber.
Exactly.
And it's all pure sugar. So I ask people, would you eat 4 to 8 oranges at one serving? And most people would say no. Well, that's how much sugar you're getting at one glass of orange juice. So you're better off just eating an orange.
Exactly. I'm with you on that one. Well, we are almost out of time. We've got about a minute left. Is there anything, first of all, I wanted to pop up your website again so that people can reach out and find your book as well. It's also on Amazon. But do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, just drink more water, pure water. And people say, well, how much? The minimum is 64 ounces or 1/2 of your total body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, drink at least 100 ounces of water. If you live somewhere where it's hot and dry, like I live in Arizona near Phoenix, I have to drink more water. If you're doing a lot of physical activity, drink more water. And a lot of times when you think you're hungry, you're actually thirsty. And people say, well, what kind of water? And avoid tap water. So it should be either distilled water or spring water or reverse osmosis water. And if you ask one expert, they'll say one thing. If you ask another, they'll say just the opposite. And a third will say the other two are wrong. So find a water that you like to drink, whether it be distilled spring water or reverse osmosis. And that's what you should drink.
And I like the idea too that, pick something you're actually going to drink. That's important. It doesn't do you any good if it sits on the counter.
Exactly.
But anyway, that is all of the time that we have today. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being with us today, David. I have enjoyed our conversation, and hopefully everybody will go out and get your book.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Say that one more time. Awesome. Well, everyone, that is it. David, thanks again. And hopefully you'll come back on the show again soon.
Definitely, Julianne. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is all the time that we have for today. I just want to say thanks for watching, and we will see you again next week.